Hello fantasy managers, my name's Tom and I'm back talking about F1 Fantasy. This is my team selection video for the Chinese Grand Prix coming right up this very next weekend. It is a sprint weekend, plenty of points on offer and hopefully some redemption for myself as well as many of you, as we all kind of suffered. Well, not all of us necessarily, some of you might have dodged like Neo in the Matrix, like dodging those DNFs, whoa. But many of us did in fact suffer horrendously, and we will be looking to pick ourselves up off the floor, dust ourselves down for this Chinese Grand Prix. So this is my team selection video, but first of all, we do have to discuss what happened in Australia, because it was carnage. It was carnage. I got up, especially early. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning for me. Got up. I was like, right, let's get on with this first race of the season. Didn't get past the formation lap before I got hit by -20. Lap one, that became -40. Further on in the race, when Bortoleto went off, that became -60. Piastri spinning off, lost a chunk of points on the 2 times. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. So for all of you fantasy managers, including myself, it's time for the first violin of the season. This first submission is from FPL Saka. He says, fun game, 5 DNFs resulting in -100 points for my team. Doesn't seem fair to lose 100 points from something that's mostly bad luck and unpredictable in any way. Welcome to F1 Fantasy, Saka. We've got 2 submissions here, FPL Boa and Luke, both submitting exactly the same team. 50 sodding points. And from Luke, a whopping 50 points. Lost $1.8 million, almost $1 million in rank. It's Noemi. I was first, she says, in my mini league after quali. First in the mini league after quali. Pretty sure her points from quali to the race ended up halving. I'd imagine she's probably on 50, 60 points or something after quali. Finishes on 24 points. 2 points worse off is the FFC fan, who asks, is this a good score? 2 times on Carlos Sainz. Snorlax 97, absolute stinker on the team one. Overall, I think I had a terrible weekend. Well, Snorlax, yeah, you did. Autopilot, 9 points. Ugh. Rain comes in with "You Can't Make This Up" on his Rain Fantasy budget building team, entitled Budget Building Team. Looks solid before the weekend, comes away with a -12 and a net loss of $2.4 million. Budget building team. And here we got, it looks like a -40, but it's actually ended up as a -9 after provisional points were finalised. Again, another 2 times on Carlos Sainz. New name, submitted this one. He's submitted it with the line, anyone else? Not just me, right? He also added, I'm also a Ferrari fan. Thanks for playing. Then we got this one here from Christian Deere. This is not his, it's his cousin's, and he's not going to tag his cousin in here because he doesn't want to give him the humiliation of showing who he is with the -43. -43. This final one is from Tom Thorne, presented without comment. No comment. Perhaps he himself is just speechless upon seeing this score on his team. DNF, followed by DNF, DNF, DNF. Went off the track, lost a load of positions. Williams, DNF, Ferrari, Masterclass. That's your violin for this week. Please remain seated and remain silent for a few more moments. Let's liven things up a little bit. Now, we've had our first violin of the season. I did not anticipate the first violin coming out on race week 1, but the only people that really dodged it were people that managed to go with like maybe the Russell, like my team 2, I went Russell, Mercedes, and McLaren, managed to dodge it, most of the damage, and anyone else who went no negative, congratulations, you are the survivors and the winners of race week 1. But now we're going to China. This is where the real team selection headache begins, because we're in this dire straits. We're in this well of despair where a lot of our budgets are being crushed. So I'm going to be talking about my team who has got one of these crushed budgets and a small amount of points. I think I had 73 points coming out of Australia. So I really need to think hard about how I'm going to claw myself out of this. And that's why we're going to be discussing China kind of right here, right now. So yeah, we're going to go through kind of the attributes of China. Got these long duration corners, particularly through turn 1 and 2, and the same again 12, 13, although it's much higher speed corner around 12 and 13. This does make me think like the likes of McLaren are still going to do well around here because they've been notoriously good around high speed. Red Bull also should be good around here. They're good around the high speed. And McLaren have also been very strong in slower medium corners as well, of which there are plenty here. So I think McLaren are just going to continue on marching on down the road ahead of everyone else. The one thing that concerns me slightly going into this is, are Williams actually going to be that good? I think this is going to be a real tester for Williams. If they come through this weekend strongly, then I think they really, really have made a massive jump from last year, which it's clear they've already made a jump, but how big is that jump? Have they got the aero efficiency to get around these long duration corners? We'll find out this weekend. As for the track itself, anyway, in terms of its safety, gets the amber warning, 53% chance of, or not chance, 53% actual happening of a VSC and safety car since it was introduced, 19, whatever it was, a safety car. So 53% is gets the amber warning, so it's about average for in terms of safety cars. It's not a particularly dangerous track. It's not a particularly safe track either, but the weather should be nice, so at least we haven't got the rain to contend with this weekend. Key bit of information is overtakes actually are really high, so that does give our budget drivers some hope. Those that have lost loads of points, maybe there's some tiny hope that they won't keep losing budget because they might get some overtakes, but can't see it happening personally. And the number of DNFs, we only had last year's data to go off, and over the last 3 years, just 3 DNFs last year. So this is my team coming out of Australia. As you can see, it's been massively hit by the DNF, and 2 times kind of failure. The constructors kind of did okay. Mercedes were actually like the one shining light in my team, and I really think Mercedes look particularly strong at the moment. Obviously not quite in touch with McLaren, but Mercedes definitely do fill me with confidence, and that is going to impact a potential wildcard situation for me, which I'll be discussing in a minute. And Ferrari's massive disappointment, and once again they're clowning around on the strategy, left their guys out too long in the rain, and they just massively paid the price. Still, luckily for me, and at least got the 0.3 million rise, so it wasn't all bad in that sense. But yeah, overall, again, I think this is a good team. And if it wasn't for this dire budget situation, which, by the way, if you don't understand what on earth is going on with the budgets, I have made a video about this last week, all about it, so please do check it out. I'll put the link in the description below this video. So if you don't understand how the budget system works, yeah, click on that video and then maybe come back to this. But basically what's going to happen is that all these guys that have lost budget, particularly the ones that I've got on my team doing Bortoleto and Hajar, they're almost certainly going to get lose more budget because it's worked on this 3 race average. So this -20 is just going to sit here impacting Doohan's price change over the next couple of races, and he's never going to claw his way out of this in the next. So he's just going to keep losing value. And if that wasn't the case, and it was just based on the next race, how it was last season, it was just based on the average across the grid per race, I think I actually prefer last season's way of doing it, because now we're just kind of stuck with this. Well, these guys have all lost value, so I kind of have to jump off them, and that feels like I almost have to jump into an early wildcard, which I will be showing you my potential. And when I say potential, I mean I'm seriously considering this wildcard team. I'm going to show that in a minute, but let me just go through the other iterations of what I'm thinking first. First of all, like I say, I would be more than happy to just stay with this team. I think it's still a strong team. I'm not happy with Ferrari, but I think they should be stronger come China, particularly with the slightly warmer conditions, perhaps. But yeah, I do think that this team is good, but because of the budget situation, is fairly untenable unless, I could just ride it out and just accept the budget losses, and if I think the team's that good, then just get rid of it. But I think later on in the season, particularly when it gets down to the more tail end of the season, and other people who have gone budget building are just getting just a better team. They could maybe get this team, but instead of Ferrari, they got McLaren. My team too can already afford a Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes build. And I think if you can already afford that, if you're one of the survivors from Australia, then I think it's kind of pretty obvious. Like I said, I can't actually afford it, but if you could get this build with a budget driver in here, I cannot personally afford, then I think it's pretty clear that that's an obvious way to do, particularly on sprint weekend. I'm a million short of it, the same distance away as I was last week. So yeah, I haven't really made any gains on that whatsoever. But I think if you can go with a team like that, I think it's absolutely, yeah. Why wouldn't you do it? But I can't, so I need to think about what I can do. What I can do is a couple of different things. Let's just reset this briefly. So what I've been thinking about is I really want to get McLaren coverage in, like more McLaren coverage in. I feel like Piastri 2 times might just not be enough. Like looking at it, because McLaren's just clearly looks so good, and I know there is this whole technical directive thing coming in with the whole mini DRS debacle and controversy, however you say it. But I'm not sure if that's really going to affect things this week. I'm not sure if McLaren really. I haven't personally seen any real evidence of this mini DRS effect on McLaren, but maybe it's out there. Maybe it will hurt them, particularly on a track like China where there's these massive long straights. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, I still think they're going to be kind of right out there ahead of kind of everyone else pretty much. So what I was thinking of potentially doing, again, I'm not sure I'll be able to do this because of the budget situation, but it's bringing in Williams and McLaren and Norris, and then I would just leave everyone else. This would be for a -10 again because of the budget situation. I'm already looking at doing -10s, but on a sprint weekend, you can probably just about get away with it. When you're looking to score, hopefully like 200, 300 points, like more maybe even, I don't know. But yeah, this is basically the team I was considering. Like I say, it would be a -10. And I think it's really good because, like I said, McLaren's look great, Norris looks great. Fastest lap driver of the day in Australia. Who's to say he can't do the same sort of thing again? Particularly as the fastest lap World Championship point is no longer on the menu, so teams aren't going to be sticking soft tyres on towards the end of the race and just grabbing that. The fastest lap is generally going to go to the fastest car, just without even really trying to go for the fastest lap, because there's no point in going for the fastest lap for the drivers anymore. But so more often than not, someone like a Norris or a Piastri is just going to get the fastest lap. So that's a really nice kind of bonus to go with a team like this. I think that people that went with a team similar to this, obviously without the rookies so much, a team that went like this like largely went unscathed. Obviously the Williams signs DNF. But if you manage to avoid, if you went with like Hulkenberg in here, for example, instead, then suddenly you're looking really quite handsome actually with the Norris haul of points. So this is certainly something that's on my mind, but I'm just not sure I can sit here and just keep absorbing these negative 0.6s in my team. So it's going to really hurt me in a few races time when I'm looking to improve my team, and I just can't just sat here. So I'm trying to think like quite far in advance. I think short term, this team's good for scoring points. I think it's good for scoring points. Yeah, I think it's a fine team, but because of all these hits on the budget, I'm not sure it's justifiable. Of course, the other option is like going like splitting it even further and going like where's Piastri gone? I don't know why it's automatically sorted by points now. It's annoying. I want it sorted by value. It's much easier to find where people are, so it's kind of annoying. But yeah, the other sort of option I was again looking at would be doing something like this, and this would also be a -10 for me because I'll be switching both my constructors plus Bortoleto out. And again, I think this is another fine potential -10. It gives a nice bit of balance and still covers like McLaren pretty thoroughly, and Williams, who again looked pretty strong and should increase in price. Williams have lost value 0.2, but they only need a handful of points, quite a small number of points, like 5 or 6 points or something stupid, to actually trigger them to move up into the big price gains again in China. So I'm not really worried about Williams in terms of losing more budget unless they catch another DNF or something. That could happen to anyone. So yeah, this team I'm also quite happy with, and it was one I was extremely close to going with on going into race week 1, and ultimately would have been the difference, like a couple of points difference. It wouldn't have actually made much difference, but I'd be in a better position, I think, going in to into the next race in China, because I've got that kind of extra McLaren coverage when they clearly look very strong. But again, do I want to do this? Like these are kind of the options. The options are kind of leave it as it was with my Ferrari Mercedes team, move into the Norris McLaren team, or kind of make it a bit more balanced with Albon in here over Bortoleto. I quite like all 3 options, to be honest, which is really not not ideal, but the budget losses are just too detrimental. So I have been considering something a bit more drastic. So like I said, let's flick it back to my actual team as what I've got. So this would be a wildcard option in order to try and gain back the budget losses, because I've lost a ton of budget. Let's just take everyone out. Actually, how much budget have I lost entirely? Okay, it doesn't actually look that bad compared to some people. I've seen some people who are in the like 97 region, so actually being 98.7 isn't terrible. So this is what I was thinking for the wildcard team. Okay, it's still the base. Oh, not Red Bull. No, it's not. I just saw blue and clicked on it. The base of my wildcard team and able to claw my way out of this budget deficit is McLaren, because I think they're just going to keep going 0.3 absolute consistency. As Williams, so again I think will increase in price, even though they took a bit of a loss here. Albon sort of clawed them out of the minus 0.6, and I think in a sprint weekend we should definitely see the Williams go up, most likely even a 0.6. So I think that's great there, as well as being competitive. So I think that's two strong constructors there, even though I'd love to have Mercedes in there as my second option, but they're just too expensive. That would lead me on to who do I put as the 2 times in terms of what I can afford and what's good for budget. It would push me in to a 2 times on Antonelli, and I think a lot of people are going to be immediately like, whoa, no, you can't do that. Like, you have to put the 2 times on Norris or Piastri. Maybe you can get away with like a Verstappen or Russell or something. But I don't know. Antonelli he really did fill me with confidence. He had a couple of moments where I was like, oh, okay, it was a bit risky. Had a bit of a spin at one point, but managed to put it back on track. And he finished P4. Where did he start? Like P16 or whatever it was. Phenomenal in those conditions. And yes, he made a couple of mistakes, but overall he also made some really fantastic overtakes. And for me personally, I voted for him as driver of the day. Normally I vote for someone that's actually on my team when I'm watching the race, just because I think, well, maybe that one extra vote will make the difference to get my guy plus 10 points. But I generally thought Kimi Antonelli was my driver of the day. He was just really, really impressive. And I'm kind of happy in terms of the budget building option to have him in my team on a wild card, because he scored an absolute chunk of points, 32 points. So he's very likely, near enough like guaranteed, to just go up in price again because of his price. He's got almost double his points per million there. 19 million, and he got 32 points, and well, not quite double, but near enough. So my point is that Antonelli is like almost certainly, providing he avoids DNF, just going to go up 0.6, and he's a capable 2 times DRS driver, even if he's not the best option. And then past that, I'll be looking to bring in Albon, because he's also, again, a strong option who's going up in price. It looks like he's going to go up another 0.6 if he avoids DNF. Next option would be Stroll. Stroll the Troll, back in the team. Can't get away from this guy. Can't get away from him. He always ends up in my team somehow. But yeah, the fact that he also went up 0.6 with another big chunk of points, and the fact that it's done over this 3 race average, all these big points from Australia are going to impact their budget gain and losses from to the next race. So having Stroll in here isn't exciting, but I think he could be sturdy and give me another price rise. So I'm kind of happy to have him in there for now. And then past that, I think Ocon was the next option. Yeah, Ocon was my next driver. Again, only 0.2 rise. He got 8 points. So he's not far off as well. Again, in the sprint weekend, he's good for overtakes, and we know China, as we saw a minute ago, is very good. 3rd for overtakes last season. So Ocon in here, on the rise, and very capable of getting another price rise, as well as some points I'm very happy with. And then again, this has really confused me that it's not all sorted by value. It's very annoying. And then finally, we had to bring in Nico Hülkenberg. So again, Nico Hülkenberg does not excite me. I do think generally he's going to qualify ahead of where he should, and then might fall back in the race. But because he's got this 20-point massive score and he's so cheap, he's almost guaranteed to just go up another 0.6. So this is my wildcard team if I'm going to go for it. And yeah, like I said, I think the reasons I would go for this is it's quite a nice balanced team. It gets rid of all the rookies, so if they're still, well, not all the rookies, Antonelli's still in there, and I got the 2 times on him, so it's not quite all the rookies. It's quite a lot of faith in Antonelli, I have to say, to go down this route. But my point is that the other rookies that have all DNF'd through Australia are now no longer on the team. I'm not losing 0.6 from them, which we're pretty sure is going to happen based on the whole algorithm that F1 Fantasy Tool is going to crack. And this team, like I said, it looks like a nice balanced team. I still catch the majority of the McLaren points, even if I don't have a 2 times McLaren asset. But is it now time to take a possible little like points hit? Like I said, I think like the Norris McLaren teams are probably going to score better than this, because Norris on the 2 times, like I say, consistently getting like fastest lap possibilities as well as driver of the day is like really juicy. That's huge points for the 2 times driver. So going Antonelli is a bit risky, being this young guy, rookie driver, capable of a mistake, but also just very fast and filled me with confidence, like I say, with those overtakes he was making, and the fact that he actually made it to the end of the race. It is risky, but are we now, people like who are in my position that have got hammered by DNFs in Australia, are we in a position where we have to fire off the wildcard? I mean, I'd love to save the wildcard further down the line. Maybe just take that -10 and go to the Norris build and be happy for the sprint weekend. Maybe that's sensible. Maybe it's too much knee-jerking to just wildcard into a team like this. But when we know that this free race average thing is happening, and we know with a high degree of certainty, if not absolute certainty, that these assets like Doohan, not necessarily Behrman because he actually got 2 points, so he might be able to claw out of it, but yeah, particularly Doohan, Hadjar, Bortoletto, 3 of my assets are near enough guaranteed to lose number 0.6 each, so that's 1.8 million, near enough guaranteed to just be wiped off my budget. Can I justify that? And yes, I can swap like one of them out as a free transfer, like I say, bring in Hulkenberg for Doohan, but I'm still like locking myself into a 1.2 million loss. That does get balanced slightly by Hulkenberg's rise, perhaps. So maybe I could argue that you can't just look at the losses in isolation, look at what you're gaining, and it kind of balances as well to some extent. And you should just go for the points on a sprint weekend with Norris in the form he's in the car that he's in. It's a real headache. This whole budget building thing is, in previous seasons, it's been something that's very secondary to point scoring, but now it seems like it's almost more important, if at least as important as point scoring, because like I say, it's a long season, 23 more races to go. In a few races time, are we going to be suffering if we go for points now and don't take into account these big budget losses that we're about to get whacked with? It gives me concern. It gives me concern for my future team if I don't sort out the issue of this budget bleeding here and now. Am I going to pay the price later on? So do I take a little bit of a points hit, sacrificing a McLaren 2 times driver effectively to try and stop that bleeding? And not just stop that bleeding, if I'm going to go with this wildcard team, if I want to stop the bleeding, I would just do the Norris McLaren, swap out a Doohan to a Hulkenberg, and it kind of stems the bleeding a little bit and keeps my wildcard intact. But if I want to, with good degree of certainty, get all these price rises as well as some reasonable points with the McLaren constructor in there, and then just reasonable drivers, then maybe now is the time to wildcard. I don't know what you guys think. Is anyone else in my position? I don't know, but we will see. Obviously, we've got sprint qualifying ahead of the deadline, so we'll get the result of that qualifying session before deadline, and then I'll be doing a live stream on Friday evening UK time. Don't know the exact time at the moment, probably around 9 o'clock is my normal go-to time, because of the nature of the sprint race happening 3 o'clock in the morning, wherever it is. So yeah, I'll probably do a deadline-ish stream. I'm not actually doing a deadline stream on Friday because it's at 3 o'clock in the morning for me, and it's just obscene for me personally. So I'll do a stream earlier, 6 hours before that, if people want to catch it. So catch me on Friday for a live stream, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you survive Australia? If so, congratulations. If you're like me, what are you thinking? Are you thinking points? Are you thinking budget? There'll be some people out there that got the luxury of going Limitless. I could also still go Limitless, but then I'm just stuck with this underlying awful budget building team. I think Limitless for me, unless it's absolutely clear as day that the best 5 drivers are very clear and I can put them in my Limitless team, then I think it's just completely off the menu for me. I'm not going Limitless because of my budget situation. So yeah, my options basically are keep it the same and just change Hulkenberg, move to that Norris McLaren build, maybe go for the more balanced Piastri McLaren build, or go all in on budget with the wildcard and go here. Those are my options. I will think about it over the week and catch you on Friday, hopefully. Let me know what you think. Thanks very much, and bye for now.